So for those who don't know, my name is Kim Janey. In addition to being Chief's grandmother, I am the president of the Boston City Council. I proudly serve in this role, leading the most diverse city council in Boston's history. This is the first time that Boston has had a city council that is majority women and majority people of color. I'm also the District 7 city councilor, so I represent the neighborhoods of Roxbury. I have most of Roxbury, not all of it, but a good chunk of it. I also have parts of the South End, Dorchester, and Fenway. District 7 is the heart of the city. It is literally right in the middle. It's close to everything that you want to be near. It has lots of green space. It's very rich in art and history and culture. But it's also home to many of the disparities that we talk about in our city. My district has a 30-year life expectancy gap, depending on where you live, what zip code you're in District 7. We also see the disparities, whether we're looking at healthcare, whether we're looking at education, whether we're looking at housing, whether we're looking at economic opportunities. All of those things play out in my district. So I think it's really important to have the council presidency grounded in this community. This is the first time in 30 years that the council presidency has been grounded in Roxbury. So I'm really excited about the work that we've been able to do thus far. So I became council president right at the beginning of my second term. Well, thank you for that. I see the reactions here. Right at the beginning of my second term. So I just completed my first term. I ran for city council the first time because I thought too many people who look like me in my community were being left out of the economic opportunity and literally being pushed out of our community through gentrification. So I ran for city council, ran with an eye toward equity and how we really are making sure that communities of color who have been left out historically are at the table. I became president January of this year. And this year certainly was a year like no one could have imagined. COVID really exposed for many what most of us in poor communities of color already knew. And so, you know, our focus around equity and making sure that those who have been locked out and those who have not experienced all of the benefits of living in a city like Boston, that we really be targeted in our approach when it comes to COVID-19. And so I'm really proud of the work that the City Council has been doing to respond to that. The other thing that I'll end on that I think would be of interest for young people as we talk about this moment in our movement and race in the city of Boston. And we know, you know, the history in our city is a complicated one. It's one that we wrestle with. It's one that we have not really reckoned with. But as we think about this, I like to highlight that for the first time ever, it's not just the city council that has more people of color than ever. We have more political power than ever before in this city when it comes to Black political leadership and leadership representing communities of color. And for the first time now, we have representation at the federal level with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. We have representation at the county level with several county level positions being led by people of color. That includes the Register of Probate, which is Felix D. Arroyo. We have the Sheriff, which is Steve Tompkins, and we have our DA, which is Rachel Rollins. In addition to that, we have state reps and a state senator, as well as the majority people of color on the city council. So 17 in total people of color representing Boston. And we meet on a regular basis to lift up these issues. In fact, it was early June where we had the press conference on the State House step where we outlined this agenda at each level. And so my letter to the mayor was to kind of carry forward the municipal agenda for us. But in addition to those 17 of us that represent Boston, what I've done as president of the most diverse city council is, and my background is in community organizing. So I didn't tell you that I come from a large family of educators and activists, that my roots are very deep in Roxbury in the South End. 6 generations of Janeys in Roxbury, spanning almost 100 years. So very deep roots. And my background is as a community organizer. I know the importance of organizing other electeds of color across the Commonwealth. At the State House, it's easier because they have a caucus. They have a Black and Latino caucus. So those members are automatically organized, or at least convened at the state level, but there wasn't any such thing at the municipal level for city councilors. So the first thing I did was I did some research to find out where the other council presidents of color. Identified 4 other people. So there are 5 of us. I represent Boston, but I have a friend in Springfield, Quincy, Chelsea, and Lawrence, in addition to myself. So what we did as council presidents, the Black and Latino council presidents, we drafted a letter around the state legislation. It's important. So it's important. I think what I would highlight in this call is the importance of this moment in our movement, the fact that we have as much power as we believe we have, and I believe we have a lot, the need to organize. And my message to young people explicitly would be for them to kind of own their own power and their own organizing, and to applaud the work that they've done thus far. It is our young people who are out there protesting. It is our young people who have always been on the front lines of every single movement that has changed things in this country and in the world. And so, one, I want to thank you. I want to highlight that, because too many people talk about you as being leaders of tomorrow, when in fact you are leaders of right now. So thank you. Own this time. You will look back at this moment in history. You are making history right now. So acknowledge it. Be present in what you are doing right now in this moment to contribute to this movement, because you are making history right now. 20 years from now, you're going to look back at this moment. 30 years from now, you'll have children who will look back and see the work that you have done to free Black and brown people in our city.